We'll go straight in, ready? Hello, everybody. It is time
Can
I introduce this show?
This is my intro. Hello and welcome to another episode of Elz Tells.
Elz Tells. Elz Tells. Elz Tells. What you telling? Yeah. Talk to us about your outfit.
It's a Stranger Things episode, so I've come Stranger Things all over. Stranger Things has thrown up on me. So
Your thinking cap makes your forehead look big.
yeah,
Not big, massive.
it's a trucker one, so my head ends like halfway,
You look like Homer Simpson.
and then it's the rest. It's just the vibes.
Go on then, go for the rest of your outfit.
So the trucker hat, it's a thinking cap one like Dustin wears. The new like Hellfire Lives t-shirt from Series 5. But it's really cool because it's the actual ringer one where it's got like the black piping around the edges, right? And then this jacket is very spenny, right? This is the...
Right, flex.
Yeah, it is. It is a massive flex. This barely ever comes out of my drawer, hence why it's a little bit creased. Could have done with an iron, but we don't have time for that. This is Max's jacket that she wears, like, you know, the classic running up that hill and all that, the blue one. And it's the one that Quicksilver made when the series originally came out. And so very spenny, and now very rare. Sold out, but I've got one of them.
I'm wearing my vintage...
No one asked.
My vintage...
No one cares.
Adidas
No one cares.
football hooligan
No
jacket.
one asked what you're wearing.
I think everyone's more interested in me. I'm going to sneeze. I have spots all over my body right now.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know.
Am I run down? Is that why it happens?
Yeah, I guess so.
I've got I've got in the crease of my nose,
Need more vegetables.
spots on my cheek,
No one wants to know.
but I'm just mindful that if you looked at my face, you'd think he's spotty.
That's okay.
But I'm not a teenager
You're
anymore.
allowed to be spotty. No one minds.
I've got frog
No
skin.
one minds. This is a podcast. If they choose to watch it...
Face made for radio.
a body for a podcast. No, if they choose to watch this, then you know what? Warts and all, you know? Apparently spots and all. So, anyway, this episode of Elz Tells is all about Stranger Things. I can't wait to talk about Stranger Things because now it is all done in its entirety. We can talk about all of it.
Apart from the secret episode that's coming.
That's not even funny. This conformity gate stuff was ridiculous. We'll get into all of that. But Stranger Things has no doubt been a once-in-a-decade phenomenon. Right?
When did it start? Have you got the start date?
It was 2016, wasn't it?
Was it?
Because it's been 10 years.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Phenomenon. It's only right that now it's officially concluded. We have a whole episode dedicated to Stranger Things.
So we're talking entirety.
From 2016 to 2026, this epic series is so much more than just a TV show.
Oh, wow.
Let's
I love
talk
your
about
blurb.
it.
Love your blurb.
That was all a blurb, and you didn't even notice because it sounded so natural.
Wow.
But yeah,
It's like AI.
I had to... No, I wrote that myself. Thank you very much. Crikey. We want to rank the series and see which ones are our favourites. Talk about the finale specifically because, I mean, that's been the talk of the town. I've purposely left it a little bit so that it's hopefully not so much the talk of the town because it's one of those where we're not hating on it, basically. And
So I say we begin at the beginning then. Season 1. We didn't start watching it. We started watching when, like, Series 2 was already out, wasn't it? We weren't, like, early adopter, were we?
So we literally got into it because Series 3 was about to come around.
That's right.
And I was like, all right, it's staying. And the thing is, the reason I wasn't an early adopter was a couple of things, right? I thought it was very much more horror than it was at the start. At the start, it hasn't got as much horror-y elements as it gets into. So that was one thing, because as you guys know, I hate horror. We did a whole episode on it.
I think even the way it's been branded, like the red writing and all that stuff, feels a bit like, you know, American Horror Story?
Yeah, but
which is actually a bit spooky.
It's Stephen King. And Stephen King is freaky deaky. And so I was like, no, thank you. And the other thing, I, as you guys know, hate getting into a series when it could just be cancelled.
Oh,
so
stop.
By the time I'm like, okay, we're getting 3 seasons, I'm like, it must be good. I got to be honest, though, a lot of people around me weren't watching it either.
No.
I don't know if it was maybe bigger in America first or like how it kind of developed, but people around me weren't really talking about it at the time. But what were we doing in 2016? We had a lot going on anyway, music-wise and all that, didn't we?
10 years ago, we would have been...
And we did Disneyland Paris in 2016.
Yeah, we would have been 19, 20.
So it also, the first season landed at a weird time where we were busy with college, uni, that kind of thing. So yeah, around that time of my life, I wasn't as invested in media in general.
What I found interesting was obviously at the start, the pull, like the credibility, was Winona Ryder.
Winona,
Like she was the
yeah.
big household name, which is so funny now because like come season 5, like she's not part of the core cast. I'd say she is, but she isn't.
She is, but the core cast got massive, which is
Yes.
something we'll talk about when we get to season 5. Because it expanded so much, it went beyond just the 4 kids and Winona. You know?
Yeah, she almost got a fringe character. She wasn't as fringe as Murray. Do you know what I mean? Like come season 5, but she's not core casting.
No, see, I totally disagree with that. I think, and this is one of the things with the finale, is people were saying that she like didn't have much to do, and blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't get it though. What is she gonna do? Just her and her axe, apart from chop his head off.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? She doesn't have too much to add because she's no longer the sort of caring mum. The whole point is her letting kind of go of Will, and he's grown. That's the whole storyline.
Yeah.
The 2 main mothers in the end of the season,
Karen Wheeler, yeah.
Karen, who ends up, you know, because let's be real, okay, we're so straying away from season 1, but in season 1 and the kind of early seasons, Karen Wheeler isn't important.
No,
because she's actually trying to connect with her kids and they're not letting her in.
Yeah.
Which is why then it works so beautifully later on when she's protecting Holly and all that. Her intentions are always right as a mother. As I've sort of grown up and watched all of their relationships develop, she's such a badass and she really does care. And I think that shows with like Winona's character. She cares, but in a crazy mother kind of way, like she purposely feels crazy, and that's kind of her whole arc. But she doesn't need to worry as much at the end. Obviously, she's still like worried for her son and blah, blah, blah. But the whole point of it is trusting your children to go off and become. And that's the whole thing with Hopper and Elle. Joyce and him bond over that. So yeah, she doesn't have as much to do in the later seasons, but I think what she does is really important. And I'd rather that. Don't give me stuff, you know, she has a happy ending in the end with Hopper. That's the whole point. It's lush.
I like that. I rate that. Right, back to season 1.
Yeah.
Which is my favourite season.
Is it?
Yes. It's dark. It's small town. It's like small town mystery. It's not got too big yet. Do you know what I mean? It's like this other world, but it's all very kids. It's very Stand By Me. It's very E.T. It's very 80s, Goonies. It's almost, you know what I mean?
It's why people fell in love with the season, and I can see why. However, I love how it expands. I liken it to Harry Potter. Harry Potter film 1 and 2 have a completely different feel and vibe to the rest of them because it has to get bigger and badder and darker, because at the end of the day, you do lose a bit of the childlike innocence. And that was one of my favourite things about where it ends up, which we'll talk about in a minute. Season 1 and probably season 2 are very like grounded in the root of the show and it being all about the kids and blah, blah, blah. But inevitably, things change and things get bigger. How do you feel about the jump from season 1 to season 2?
I have to remind myself now, because season 2 now is when, so Will's been rescued, and we see we end of season 1, he throws up his little slug, doesn't he, right at the end of season 1. And then we go into season 2, Bob, which is Sean Astin is now, which I love they brought in Sean Astin again. That felt, again, like the Winona Ryder pull, where it's got this now credibility all of a sudden. Obviously with the introduction of Max and Billy, which were incredible additions to the cast.
One of the things that I think that Stranger Things does really well, just like Pixar do, is like introducing new characters, and they're ones that you actually care about. It happens in almost every season where we get new characters, but you don't think, why are they here? Apart from the sister, 8. Yeah, that was the one that they kind of fumbled that whole episode. Is that season 2 or season 3?
Yeah, that's season 2, but I see so many things as to why they did that, and some saying whether it was almost a pilot, a spin-off.
I do think that is one of the worst episodes. In fact, I do think it's the worst episode in all of Stranger Things, if I'm honest. It's the one that I can happily skip. I liked the interest and the background, and I liked that they gave it a go. I just think that, in particular, took the tone so far away from where it needed to be.
I think even they knew that wasn't the right direction. But like, I get what they were trying. Obviously, what they're trying to do is give 11 a character growth arc. Do you know what I mean? Because every like goodie needs it, and every kind of hero and everything. Because she can't just like level up out of nowhere. 11, because obviously the mind flayer has become bigger. Do you know what I mean? So like compared to the one demo that she killed in season 1, there's now like a bigger thing. She can't then where she suddenly got leveled up and leveled up her powers from. She has to go on a journey.
If the sister journey wasn't in there, people would be saying, well, why is she suddenly powerful?
Or how can she just close a fat off? Like
and now
all the demo dogs and everything.
And now if she is powerful because of that, people also don't like that journey. So I get it.
Like someone had to show, whether it was like the Obi-Wan showing Luke, do you know what I mean? Or it's just like, or like, you know, when he goes to train with Yoda. Exactly, because like your heroes have to level up, and obviously her sister's showing her to move like whole trains and stuff. That has to happen in any like hero journey.
One of the big critiques that I hear is them sort of like patching over as they go. So like, for example, in a later season, they accidentally put it on Will's birthday and they forgot. And then they patch it later and they literally went back and edited it.
I hate when people hate on that.
I don't mind that. That is exactly what happened in Star Wars, and that is so 80s, so I feel like it really fits the vibe. Like,
100%.
retcon whatever you like.
Yeah, I feel like people like get twisted over that for nothing. Like, literally, like you say, Star Wars did that. Luke and Leia kissed because he hadn't written in that they were brother and sister yet.
Yeah.
He retconned it and was just like, do you know what, I might make them siblings. Tolkien did it with Lord of the Rings. That by the time, because he wrote The Hobbit first, then Lord of the Rings came. But some of the facts that he was saying Lord of the Rings didn't align with The Hobbit. So what Tolkien ended up doing was saying that The Hobbit was Bilbo's account of his adventure and that he'd not been entirely truthful.
Right.
So some of the greatest story writers that were all saying, like, oh, they're the greats, you can't touch that, are retconning their own stuff because you can't think of everything on day dot when you start writing this out. So obviously the Duff Brothers are going to make some boo-boos because everyone did. The bests have done it.
So season 2 as well, I feel like was the first, how do I put this? It had the big loss of Bob. Like that bit.
Big loss, but it stayed small though. Do you know what I mean? So we still had the Upside Down, we had everything, but the issue was still only really contained in, it's not Montauk, it's Hawkins, isn't it? Because it's based on the Montauk project. It stayed small, dark themed. It stayed like government cover-up, which I really like.
Okay.
Because who's the really nice, is it Owen?
Yeah, Dr. Owens.
Dr. Owens, yeah, who was like, I really, really liked him because season 1 was like the government were baddies, but now you kind of like season 2, you kind of got the good government, which is like, you know, Dr. Owens and stuff like that, and Brenner's now disappeared.
My only real kind of like thing with season 2 is like, it was just really a really good continuation.
Yeah.
It was just really good. Now, let's move on to season 3, if
Starcourt Mall, isn't it? This is when Billy's still in it.
So here's the thing, right? I hear mixed reviews on 2 and 3. Specifically, because some people hate on 2 and some people hate on 3. I love 3 because for me, you get a lot more of like the relationships building. So you get the Max and 11, which I absolutely love, as girlies together and her being like, find your own thing. You get a lot of the iconic lines of like, dump him and all that. Like, it adds a lot more colour and spark to it, which I feel like suits the whole thing of Starcourt Mall and all that, and it just has more of a vibe.
I like lots of things about the one thing I like about season 3 is this is where you start to see the change in relationships. They're starting to get older. Will is struggling with the fact that his mates are now chasing after girls. Do you know what I mean? Lucas is running after Max, Will is running after Elle, and he's just like, and there's that scene, isn't he, where he's like, what did you want us to do? Just sit in your basement and play like D&D forever? And he's like, yes, that's what I wanted, Mike. Like,
we can all relate to a bit of that.
Well, you're losing your childhood, and we start to see that in season 3. The only thing I think is I like season 3, and I like all of Stranger Things. It strayed away from small town vibes because now all of a sudden what we have is a Russian base built under Starcourt Mall.
Right.
So we are now into fantastical. Like, whereas I loved season 1 and 2 because it was dark, small town, government cover up with a spooky, like supernatural thing going on. We've still got supernatural things going on in season 3 because we've got a mind flare that takes physical form, loads of spooky, freaky, deaky stuff in the hospital. The mind flare takes physical form. I love it. But now you've got the Russians with a base under a mall. And I'm just like, okay. And they're dressed like they are in GoldenEye. Like, you know,
to me, though,
James Bond GoldenEye from 96.
To me, I don't mind that. I understand what you're saying. Like, it does get a bit more crazy. Like, Robin and Steve are suddenly in an underground bunker with truth serum. Like, it does get more fantastical. However, you also get the development of like more of Dustin and Steve's relationship, which I love to see. And
Dustin has a girlfriend, Susie, and it's the introduction of Murray, Bald Eagle, which I love. And the whole Jonathan and Nancy coming together as they go off with Murray.
This is where I feel like it really starts to lean into more horror because it did scare me more. I remember watching it and being like, whoa, all of a sudden there are rats and they're like spontaneously combusting, intense. The ultimate thing for me that solidified why I love season 3 so much, along with how colourful it is, how much more fun it feels. So like you've got a really, really nice balance between it's really fun one minute and it's really scary another minute, is Billy and his stand up for Max and gets in between them and the kids. And so there's that redemption there, especially because I feel like he gets very, very dark in season 3. I think it's nice to balance that out and have that. It lends itself so nicely into what season 4 is all about and the curse.
I think Billy is a brilliant To be fair, I think all the way through, I think Stranger Things does really well, is really good antagonists. Where you had Brenna, who's a really good baddie. Billy is a brilliant baddie.
You're so
And like
right.
I say, now we go into season 4, where you have Vecna being introduced. Incredible baddie. Right up there with some of the best baddies out there. I would say
agree.
he's up there with Vader and, and all those kind of really good baddies. I really like that Sauron from Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? I think we're right up there.
Yeah.
I think the introduction of Vecna was really good. I really like it as we go into season 4. I'm trying to remember season 4. This is when you also, though, you have Jason, though, don't you, from the Tigers?
Yes.
Which, again, really good antagonist. Like, the whole way through, really good antagonists.
And believable. And their reasons for doing it, I never go, really?
Yes.
I'm always thinking, yeah, I understand. Even Jason, like, I totally understand his point of view. His girlfriend has, goodbye, and we don't know who's done it.
And he thinks it's Eddie. Well,
and
he thinks it's Eddie. Yeah.
And rightfully so, because who's going to think, it's obviously Vecna in the other place. I would totally agree with that. The baddies are bad. And so going into season 4, I love the whole kind of mystery of it again. The use of the classic things like the clock. Now, I will always hear that chime and think of Vecna.
Yeah.
I will always hear running up that hill and think about that moment. And one thing that I love about all of the seasons is they have an identity with a song. So, for example, 1 is probably like, should I stay or should I go? 2 is, you could pick a couple, like he talks about Kenny Rogers and all that.
Yeah.
But there's the snowball in season 2, which I love. So for me, it would be like Time After Time or something like that. Just to jump back, the snowball scene is one of my absolute favourites of all time. When Nancy dances with Dustin.
Yeah.
I adore it. Season 3, which is so much more fun. You've got like Material Girls and all that. Season 4, obviously, you've got Running Up That Hill, but also then you've got Master of Puppets. You've got, the use of music is insane. And then season 5, obviously, Purple Rain, bit of Landslide as well, and Heroes again to bring it back around to series 1. But so, series 4, the best cinematic TV scene that we have ever received, in my opinion, is that Running Up That Hill sequence.
There's a lot at stake there. I like it.
That is my favourite moment, I think, of any TV show. When she first drops down, when she's in the grave, right? And she's been saved by it, and you think they've cracked it, buzzing. But then at the end, when she actually does, basically she does pass away for a little minute there.
Snap, crackle, pop.
And there you go. That moment of between her and Lucas, I think, is absolutely stunning. And the music that plays then, walk away, you know what I mean? I don't wanna, so whatever. That one, beautiful writing, beautiful TV, and that is why I think season 4 is one of my all-time favourites, because you've got but Hellfire t-shirts were everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. The branding of that, which, you can make arguments of how accidental or on purpose that was. The love that we all felt for Eddie. He was taking on like our favourite characters like Dustin and stuff and bringing them into his fold. And so we instantly liked him.
Yeah.
His introduction as a character at the lunch table was genius.
And you can't help but rooting for him because he's innocent. So yes. I think as much as I say they've got really good antagonists, I think Stranger Things has really good protagonists as well.
Yes.
Bob is this innocent, lovely guy who tries to do the right thing by Will and by Joyce. You've got Eddie who tries to do right by Dustin and tries to do right by the group of friends.
Well, and he tries to do right by Chrissy as well.
Yeah.
He's only trying to be helpful. He's trying to talk to her, and it's so sad because you see them kind of connect and let go of their sort of like their class stations within the school, the status quo. It's even more sad then when it's like he's being accused of that.
Yeah, but what I like about season 4 is that, because obviously again every character has to go through a level up. Like the Mind Flayer is leveled up, the baddie's leveled up. We've got Vecna now, so 11 has to go level up again. She meets Brenna again at this kind of desert lab. I'm totally down for this because the memories she then cycles through of meeting Henry in like the daycare and living all of that, like, and the whole thing, that was done perfect. That was how like a level up arc is done properly. Her rediscovering her memories and realising that she's not the baddie, because she kept thinking she was a monster in that daycare kind of, or like lab. She thought it was her. And so her unlocking her memories of discovering it with Henry, his monologue mind in their like one-to-one battle was incredible. Like I think Jamie Campbell-Bower, again, incredible actor and protagonist.
I heard him talking about that, and he said that he purposely learnt that like word for word in one thing, because he said he knew that he saw the Duffer Brothers vision of that needs to be a one shot, like all of the words at once, really intense moment. Yeah. So that you can dive into it. A cut in that would have been disappointing, and I totally agree. In terms of series 4, okay, and talking about it getting like fantastical, okay, in series 4 is the one where I personally was like, oh, we're like half in Russia, we're like half in this thing, there's California, there's Argyle, and so it's very split up, and this is where the kind of bigger cast gets bigger, right? I think they played it really well in 4, and I think they played it really well in 5. So I was a bit like taken back with people's feedback of 5 being like, oh, there's too many of them, they should have killed some of them off. I'm like, no. It was big for the last like 2 seasons. It's been getting bigger. In 4, there's so many different stories and places, and I think they actually cope really well with that many stories. Yeah, it allows you to have your favorite parts. It's like when you watch Love Actually, you have your favorite love stories within that, right? And you have the ones that you care about a bit less. I feel like that's the same thing with something like this, where you have your favorites, Eddie Munson, the Vecna, the Max, like those kind of, that side of things. But I can see why people would love the Eleven and Brenna and the sort of like Argyle bits. That's fine. But they're not my favourite parts of that season. My favourite parts are the Vecna curse and stuff like that.
I didn't find any of the reveals disappointing in season 4. Do you know what I mean? As you discover who one is, you discover that Vecna is one/Henry.
Yeah, and I love that what I love that Stranger Things do is they take the mick out of themselves. So they say Vecna/Henry/1, and they're like, that's too many names. And I'm like, yes, that's why it's good though, because they really emphasize to the watchers what's going on, but in such a way that it makes sense. What I hate is when they're really obviously, not in Stranger Things, but in media in general, when they're really obviously recapping a story. Yeah. Whereas with Stranger Things, I feel like they enforce it in such a way where they are explaining it to other characters. So for example, it's usually like Dustin explaining it to someone else using D&D speak or science speak. And I think that lends itself really well because it is a complex story. You're able to stay on track because they explain it in different ways so that the characters understand it, and therefore we do. And I think that's what they do well in 5 as well. Anything else about 4?
No. I think we're naturally there at the finale now.
Okay, let's talk about the Stranger Things finale. And what did you think of it?
I wasn't upset with it. I wasn't like throwing my toys out the pram. Some people are like losing their minds over it. I just wouldn't put it as my favourite series. So if I were to go back and you say, should we go back and watch a series? I would go back and watch 1. I think 4 is probably my second favourite series because Vecna is so good.
We'll do rankings.
I know, but so it's in like, so I'm not saying it got terrible as it got on, because actually 4 was like the best series. I just wouldn't go back to watch season 5
Let me tell you something.
Stranger Things.
Let me tell you something.
I'd want to go back and see the 4 kids and Bob and all that.
Let me tell you something, why I completely and wholeheartedly, ridiculously disagree with the hatred towards 5. The main critiques, the casting, like, got too big. Like, there was too much of a main cast. Totally disagree. It's been a big cast for the last few seasons. Irrelevant point, if you ask me. I think they actually did really well. When they talk about wrapping it up, the only things that they didn't wrap up was like, where's the girlfriend, like
Susie.
Robin's girlfriend.
Oh, right.
Or even Susie.
Yeah, Robin's girlfriend.
Respectfully, I don't care. They are small characters with tiny, like, input into the story. I don't care where they end up. At the end of the day, if Dustin's going to go off to a fancy uni, he's probably not with Susie anymore. And that's fine. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, they're like, oh, where's Murray? I'm like, probably right back where he was before. Conspiracies, government, in his little shack. That's totally fine as well. People are like, oh, it's plot holes. No. You don't understand what a plot hole is if you're calling that a plot hole. That's just an end that they've decided to not. Yeah, but it's not even a loose end. It's just like...
Oh, no, it is. But it's okay to have loose ends. Everything will have loose ends.
But, right, what story in history, right? So, for example, even take something like, I don't know, like Home Alone. Where does the mother end up? Well, not in jail for leaving her kid at home on his own.
Yeah.
You just don't need to know that. You don't need an answer. The end of Stranger Things, for me, got so much hate because people love to hate, okay? The initial wave of stuff that came out was hate because it's what gets clicks, it's what gets views, and so people went on the hate train, and then all of a sudden people came out like, hold on, I thought this was going to be like the Game of Thrones ending, but it's actually incredible. The tide turned, especially on like my side of TikTok. Don't get me wrong, I know we all get shown what it wants us to see and what we'll watch. My side of TikTok ended up actually being really positive for it.
Yeah, I wasn't in the negative camp at all. Like, it just wasn't my favourite series, but like, I love that we got more of Henry Creel's backstory. I like that we go cycling through his memories. Again, I think some people were like, oh, there's loose ends there with like, you know, why was it stuck on a certain date in a school, and why was Winona or young Winona there, like young Joyce was there. But like, all of that is all by the by. I liked all of it, and you know, I'm okay with 8 coming back to kind of help wrap up things at the end with a sister and everything like that.
I predicted that.
I'm okay with the military and all that kind of stuff. And Dimension X I was okay with. I liked the size of the monster at the end. I liked the like, really cool physical form.
You're bothering me because you're saying okay. You were more than okay with it.
It was good. No, I liked it. I liked it, but...
No. We sat here together, okay? This is before you've been swayed by internet on the line. We sat here together and we cried and we were clapping at the screen.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful. And this is what I think happens to a lot of people. And don't get me wrong, I am also a kind of a victim of this, is that then you go online and you see people's really negative opinion. And then I feel like it makes you question your own.
Yeah, but I've not said a single negative thing about it. I'm just saying that I've not been like, I would prefer season 1. I've got no negative notes about it, and I don't think I have been particularly swayed by it because there are people out there hating on it. I just preferred when it was a Demogorgon was the baddie. Do you know what I mean? Like there was this upside down, this alternate dimension that they couldn't understand, and there was just this Demogorgon, and there were people going missing. The small town murder mystery. I just preferred what that was, but I totally appreciate what it became, and I love what it became, and I loved it all. I've got no negativity for the end.
It's like Harry Potter, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Exactly. It's like somehow some people can prefer the early seasons. Well, before there's the whole war, before a whole Wizarding War, and it was just like Voldemort. There was some guy on the back of someone's head. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like it just, and that I just preferred it when it was a small town vibe. And I'm not saying that I hate season 5, because even when it got to season 3 and we started getting Russian bases under a mall, I was just like, okay, it's just going somewhere else. And I'm happy to go on that journey. But where I loved Stranger Things was when it was rooted in a small town, murder mystery and government cover-up.
Starting with like season 5, the fact that it was split into different volumes, I hate.
Yep, hate that, because then feeds into like consumerism and like they want to split it over and all that.
No,
kind of
I don't even think it's that. It's a thing of they want to hold on to the Netflix thing. I personally think they purposely left the last episode so that it was in 2026, so that they could say, oh, it's been a 10-year journey. Because if they would have released the whole thing a month before, then it would have been like, oh, look at that. It's a 9-year journey.
Yeah.
10 years sounds a lot nicer. But in which case, in my opinion, leave the whole thing until after and be in 2026. But don't get me wrong, we already waited long enough. In terms of splitting it up, I actually think that is what made it suffer. The first chunk, I sat there and I was like, we are so back. Rockin' Robin, the squawk, all of that fitted the vibe so well. Yeah. And then we got chunk 2, which is a lot of what people say is the kind of worst part of it, which I disagree with, right? Max literally comes back. I have been waiting for that for literal years now. But, you know, in terms of the span of the episodes, I've been waiting for that for so long. For me, that was some of my favourite parts. When Lucas is there literally running with her body through the hospital to save her. Karen Wheeler being an absolute genius again. I love that. And so I don't understand the hate for all of that bit, if I'm honest. The comeback of the sister, I actually really enjoyed. And I think they did really well at redeeming that character and making me like her in the end. And I didn't feel like she was a spare part, which is what I was worried would happen when they did the reveal of her. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, they brought in someone expendable by bringing back number 8. I must say, I like the full circle and the return back to D&D and the next generation of kids who are playing it.
Wait, so how did you feel about Will Byers getting powers? Because we kind of predicted that.
Totally fine. Yeah, no, completely. And I think like when
totally fine. Yeah. It was epic. What are you on about?
But you, like you said, you kind of predicted it. It was kind of like, yeah, that's to be expected.
But here's the difference, okay? But I did not predict how it was going to happen, and how it happened was extremely satisfying for me.
Yeah.
The fact that there was literally no other way out because it was multiple of his friends about to be attacked by the demo. Right?
Yeah.
It was obvious that he had some kind of control when Joyce is there just swinging her axe and it's backing away, right? I knew for sure then that was Will doing that.
Yeah.
I like that bit of predictability as well, because I'm like, okay, that's obviously going to happen, but how?
Yeah, well, and one thing is, because it's been so tied into D&D themes, they explained it very well, because it's a sorcerer, whereas Elle was a mage. So, you know what I mean? So Elz, it was her magic, her spells. Sorcerer was more kind of like you're given a power.
You're tapping into the
You're tapping into something else. Yeah, exactly.
The kind of, because it was kind of the end of a section when he's like, you know, got his hand up and his eyes go white and stuff.
Yeah.
I just thought that bit was epic.
Yeah.
And to end it there was a good place to end it, I guess, if you're going to split it into volumes. But I wish they didn't, because I feel like then when you go into the next part where it's the kind of big finale fight, the reason I think people felt so unsatisfied with that ending is because it was cut in between. So it all of a sudden straight in and they're in the abyss and they have the fight.
Yeah, and I think
really that middle fight is the bit where Will turns around and has the powers. That's the level up, like you're saying.
I think another thing that like I want to address that like people hate on is the lack of demos then after that point.
Right.
But like, so I play a lot of computer games. I play a lot of like PC shooters and stuff like that. When you get to a point in a game where you've beaten a monster, I think of games like Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein, all those kind of things. Zelda, you're right. You've beaten Zelda, right?
Yeah,
you've beaten the little bokoblins, right? The
Yeah.
tiny little guys with clubs that you've beaten up first. You're not seeing them at the end game.
Yeah, you don't have to then fight an army of them
Like, yeah,
to
exactly.
get to the big bad.
And so if the point where you've got Demogorgons and Will is literally lifting up 4 or 5 at a time and yeeting them remotely, why do we need to see them again? Like, because that wouldn't happen in a video game. It wouldn't like you've already beaten them. So we're just going to get to Dimension X. What, another 10 or 20 come and Will just lifts them all up and kills them again.
Right.
What, it makes it just so uninteresting.
And in a game of D&D, I've never personally played it, I really want to, but in a game of D&D, do you get to the end fight with the big boss and suddenly have all of the things that you fought before turn up?
Oh, it depends. I mean, that would be down to the dungeon master.
But I don't think you do.
That. But yeah, like I said,
you get to the core of the dungeon, I'm assuming, and you have a big bad fight.
Probably, yeah, exactly.
Bad,
yeah, well, whatever the DM's decided. But yeah, you just don't see that in video games. You're not so like in Doom, for example. You meet an imp on level 1, like a lowly imp. You're not seeing an imp. You're fighting Hell Knights. Like you're fighting massive things at the end. You're not going to fight imps like at the end. Demos were in the first season.
Yeah,
it was a small monster that was running around this town. It was an imp.
The one thing I think that would have saved that point, and I mean they could still go back and retcon it in if they wanted to now, because it would only take a bit of CGI, is the bit where it comes out of looking like the tree and it stands like a thing. They could have easily had a shot of all of the demo bats coming and landing on it and getting caught, sort of sucked into it, like they did, which would be a kind of callback to like the rats and the poison, and then building this big meaty monster. I feel like they could have had the Demogorgons and all that running towards them, and they think they're going to attack the group, but instead they run straight past and join into the monster to give the monster more power. Like that would have been such an easy fix to all of the questions there. No, there aren't demos in the abyss. They jump on because they're part of this bigger monster.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the one thing that I would have personally changed.
Or have it that the Mind Flayer is some big alien horrid being that even the demos don't want there. So even if as it's sprouted out of the ground, the demos will go running off. Do you know what I mean? And they all scamper or something like that to almost show that this horrid thing had infested their land as well.
Yeah, that's good.
That could have been an interesting thing to just then clarify that then maybe even the demos were under their control the whole time. A bit like how Vecna is like tapped into the hive mind and is doing its bidding, whether voluntarily or not. It like the demos could have been involuntarily doing it too. Yeah. But I want to draw attention to Holly Wheeler. Nell Fisher was brilliant. Incredible. Really good. Again, like we say.
Delightful Derek. All of the young kids
Derek Turnbow,
were great. They were great. I've seen a lot of people say, this series suffered from having too many new people. I totally disagree.
No.
It brought it back to what it was, which was kids v all of this stuff.
Because that's the difference. It's the underdog story, right? It's Derek. It's Derek going into the military base with his radio and his lunchbox.
Yeah.
Tricking the military. Getting kids to go like into the bathroom store. Mr. Watson.
How can people hate on this series?
And that was a return back. Yeah,
it was so fun.
We don't want to see like 20-year-olds, like which is what the kids have become now, trying to take down the military. It was back to kids. It was back to Holly Wheeler, like as a kid. I mean, she was a kid. She was like 12, 13, 14 filming this series. It was back to her in Vecna's house, or Henry Creel's house, infiltrating from inside. It was Derek Turnbow being brave. It was about little kids being brave and underdog stories, and you're rooting for the underdogs. It was about her being brave when she was scared to start with, leading the kids by the end to go into this cave.
Here's what I loved about season 5 of Stranger Things. They threatened us with a lot and took it away. Here's what I mean. The deaths, or lack of. They teetered on, we could kill Dustin here, but we haven't. We could kill Steve here, but we haven't. I loved that because it showed me, as I was watching it, that I didn't actually want any of them to die. I actually didn't think that would add anything to the story if, Dustin just gets impaled by one of the legs. Why would I want that? I don't want that. It doesn't actually add anything. The stakes for me are already so high because I love them all. I don't need someone to die. In terms of that fight and making that fight important, it was already important. This is what everything has been leading to. They also teased us with the idea of, is Henry/Vecna/1 gonna be good and turn to their side?
Yeah.
And I love that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So they kept saying, okay, could do this. No, it doesn't. You wouldn't want that. And I really like that sort of push and pull of this could happen. No, it won't. I was so worried that they were going to make Vecna be a good guy in the end. And I don't like that.
I'm glad they didn't, yeah.
I'm so relieved that wasn't the thing. And so I think that added to how fun I felt like watching it. They keep teetering on this could happen. Or is it Steve's time? Is it this time? And it wasn't. And I personally loved that.
I mean, there could have been deaths, like the Ted could have died.
Oh, the dad. Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Ted Wheeler could have died.
I think he was the one who I would have liked to have seen die, just from the point of view of, like, I feel like then Karen would have been a bit more free as well. But at the same time, it might have absolutely crushed her.
But Karen could have died. But, like, I get what she did in the hospital after was cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, I liked that. Like, obviously, when she was, like, helping...
I wouldn't want any of them to die.
Lucas and Max.
Realistically.
But she could. But it would have made the motherly sacrifice, which we see in so many tropes. Like we see it in Harry Potter, the whole thing with the mother. Like it would have made so meaningful. But it was meaningful anyway. Like she was prepared to die.
She was willing to.
Yeah.
And that even when she's literally already like mangled and she's in the hospital, she has dragged herself down to the basement to help. When she's pretty helpless already. For me, that is even more brave and fun and cool and just, I just really was feeling the girl power. And I love that, like, it's not your typical, like, girl power, like, scene. But I'm like, yes, girlies. In terms of the deaths as well, they all add something to the coming of age of one of the main, like, party. Okay, so Billy adds to the coming of age of Max and where she ends up going in season 4. Eddie Munson thing really adds to the coming of age of Dustin, right? I love the fact that with Dustin, he's so upset. I know a lot of people didn't like his kind of like attitude in season 5, but for me, that was so realistic of what grief would do to a person. And also, yes, he's taking it out on Steve because he doesn't want the same thing to happen again, which we've seen with the whole ladder situation. But I also think it's a case of like, Steve taught him how to be cool and how to be different, whereas Eddie was the first one who taught him how to be himself and to trust in himself. Be a geek and a freak and it's fine. So I feel like that was a really important part of his coming of age, and therefore him losing the person who gave that to him, of course, would have a massive impact, which leads us on to the coming of age of kind of the rest of them with Elle and what happened there.
Yeah, and through the graduation ceremony and everything like that. Okay then, but yeah, so the last question is, do you believe?
Yes.
What, that she's alive?
Yes.
No, for me, she has to be dead. That makes so much. That makes it worthwhile and meaningful. A proper sacrifice. I would hate it if she's alive because then that would make me feel robbed of like what did I like.
I wouldn't.
Makes the sacrifice I watched less.
I think that's
less
ridiculous.
Meaningful.
If you look back at Stranger Things, the main party don't die, and that's the whole point. It's their coming of age.
But the whole point is that she isn't the main party. It's the ET has to go home.
That's what I said to you.
Exactly, but that is such a valid thing. You're now like going against what you have stated.
I'm not.
Like, but
I believe ET has to go home, but she has kind of gone home. Because that's what everyone believes. Like in every previous season, they believe that she's dead, and so. But then we just see the Eggos being put out in the woods.
Yeah.
We believe that she's gone into like the gate or like whatever. Like we always believe she's gone, or the government believes she's gone.
Do you know what I really hope doesn't happen is that they've left it open-ended so that in 10 years' time,
want it.
They try and reboot it for our kids, and what Elle's going to come back in her 30s.
I want it.
I'll be like, nah.
Where I'm at right now, I'm like, don't come back. But where I will be in 10 years, I'll be like, come back. I want that again. I want that feeling again. But it will be whether or not they can create it. The only thing I would say is that the recent things that we've had in sequels and blah, blah, blah have been so good. Things recently that have been brought back have been done really well. So we'll see.
You know, they could, in 10 years' time, make it 90s themed. And it's Nell Fisher, like, as in like Holly Wheeler and that lot growing up a bit older or something. I don't know. And what, 11 returns? I don't know. But it'd be interesting.
The whole sequence of Purple Rain and all that was absolutely top-notch, top 10, beautiful, amazing. From the sacrifice at Purple Rain to the end of the thing with the I Believe, that is some of my favourite parts of Stranger Things ever. The whole thing. From series 1 to 5. That scene of I Believe is incredible. And my favourite line of all of Stranger Things is when Gaten says, I believe. I literally feel like there is a spark there. He sounds like Robin Williams or something, where it's just a really quick, I believe. And it's like, so I just really believe that he believed it. I believe. I absolutely loved the finale of Stranger Things. That whole sequence, them putting the books back on the shelf and going up the stair was top-notch TV. I believe that it is going to age extremely well. I think when we are out of this like toxic era of social media and how people love to rip things apart for clicks, I think when that's
been happening always, though. I think, you know, when people say... No. Like, look at the Star Wars prequels, right, which came out in 99, 2001, 2004, whatever it was.
Agree.
Everyone hated... They made the poor little kid, like, stop acting who played young Anakin.
Yeah, you're so right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always been that. And, you know, it came out in Star Wars, the original Star Wars in like 79, whatever it was. People hated on that. People literally hated C-3PO and R2-D2, the comic relief at the time. And people hated it.
Yeah.
People thought it was absolute mumbo-jumbo. They thought it was terrible.
I totally think that this is going to age really well.
It'll age and be loved eventually.
And I think it already is loved by people like me who actually love the characters and the series, right? The people who wanted a bigger, better fight, I feel like you've missed the point.
Yeah.
You've missed the point of all of it. Because like you keep saying, it's small town, it's friends, and I think they brought it all the way back around, and the end they're just sat playing D&D. It's the most incredible ending, I think, of a series. As soon as it ended and it went to Heroes by David Bowie, another reason why she probably is maybe alive, because when they found Will's body, season 1, that's what played, and it wasn't actually his body. You get me?
Yeah. I mean, like, I hope that she's not, but I love all the red herrings, right? Oh, I love all the red herrings they've thrown in to make you think that she might be. I hope she's not.
I even love the way that they have left it open-ended. I think that in itself is such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Especially because it leans back into all the themes of, do you believe or not? Are you holding on to your childhood or are you not? Are you pessimistic or optimistic? I think that in itself is what Stranger Things is about, and I think it's genius.
Okay, we'll rank at the end.
Okay, documentary.
After the release of season 5 came a documentary. Your thoughts on it? Because that, in some ways, fueled further hate. Because I like that the Duffer Brothers were really candid in that documentary.
Yeah.
They showed that they struggled with things like the paint in the melting room scene. I did not pick up for a single second, mind, watching that episode, that I thought there was anything wrong. I didn't care about the consistency of the liquid that was going. Literally didn't think about me at all. By the way, I totally got that was a breakup scene. All the people who didn't get that at all, that was mental. But so I like that they were so honest about the mistakes, the challenges that they faced. People then obviously get angry about the Dimension X and no demos things, because they showed that they discussed it and said, you know, is that going to be a bit weird if there are none there? I didn't think it was that weird because you'd already yeeted them all.
But
so
what they've also done,
see
though, is people have taken just that tiny clip of that guy mentioning it and haven't actually watched the full response and what actually happens in the documentary, which I also think... mentioned it. No, the guy says there has to be demos.
Right, yeah.
And then they've just cut it after that. The girl says, no, we've got demo fatigue. That's what she says.
Right, okay. If I saw imps all the way through Doom, right, you kill them in level 1 with one hit. I don't want to see them in level 9, 10, 11, 12. Do you know what I mean? So I totally get her point with imp fatigue. Like, what are we going to do? Just see him and kill him again and again? It's
I understand from that point of view, but this is literally the big bad finale of the whole thing. You can have demogorgons. That would be fine. There's not fatigue there. I think that's the wrong word. However, what I would say is I like the fact that we saw that they discussed it. They haven't just not thought about it. They discussed it.
My only thing that I picked up from that documentary, and I think honestly, I think the Duffer Brothers would sit here and agree to it, was I think it was slightly rushed, but not on their fault. I think that the fan base and everything they want instant gratification. They want Series 5 now before they get too old. The kids get too old, and I think Netflix pushed too hard for a sequel too quickly, which is what they do. That's what these business execs do. I think people are willing to wait for something amazing. GTA 6 has taken a decade, and people are waiting for it, right? K-pop Demon Hunters turned around and said, we're not going to be ready for 3 to 4 years. That's not coming out next year or in 2 years. And I felt like there was so much pressure on season 5 to come out so quickly. Don't get me wrong, I'm not unhappy, and I don't think the rush is hugely detrimental and everything, but I think had they maybe had just another year, could they have made it even better? I'm not saying it was bad and that they needed to have a full rewrite and a full rethink, but could it have been even better if they were just allowed a year to just breathe and just think, right, let's come back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
what is this about?
They did have so much time. Let's actually be real.
They did have a lot of time, but you've got to remember, they were filming like practically a film, weren't they? Each episode was like a film. They were like making 8 films.
The reason I totally disagree with that, okay, is because I think people feel that way because we're not used to being let that intimately into the process. It's really common for you to start shooting before you finish a season.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And there are always changes. The other thing is, for example, I think about if we're making our album, right? If people watched how we get and how important it is to us, but we also get exhausted, we get frustrated. We purposely don't show that part of the process because it's not glamorous. I remember there was a clip that came out of Elton John working with Brandi Carlile, right? And he got so frustrated he threw some headphones.
Yeah.
That is what it's like. Making something from nothing and being frustrated that it's not coming out the way you want. And you do get tired. And I can't even imagine the stress and the strain when they've got all these people looking at them and all these art departments saying, well, what do you need from us? What do we need here? I can't even imagine what that is like.
It's ultimately, it comes down to that thing of it is what it is in that moment. If I was allowed an eternity of time to work on our album, it would come out different. But the same thing is people don't hate on Lord of the Rings. They're like, well, that's a masterpiece. It's perfection. What you were saying about that filming while still rewriting this, there's a scene where Sean Bean, Boromir, right? He puts his hand up there. You remember they were talking about it in the Josh Gad coming together during the COVID thing? He's looking down like this because he's reading the script that they'd written that morning on his knee that says, one does not simply walk into Mordor. But they kept that in the film and everyone loves it and everyone knows that monologue of one does not simply. He's reading it on his knee because he's just been handed the script and no one goes, oh my God, Peter Jackson, that's terrible. Can't believe they've... But my argument would always be, what if Peter Jackson and stuff had another week, another 6 months, or just another bit of time to... And I suppose that could be true for anything. What if Van Gogh had more time to paint? What if we had more time for an album? It could also be true
on the other side of things. Sometimes the best things come when you have to put it out as it is.
Yeah, and it's...
If you could go back and edit all that, do you really think that he would be, stoic, looking down? He wouldn't. He would be up and he'd be saying, one doesn't simply walk into Mordor. Yeah,
he'd be walking around the place and delivering those lines differently.
It would be completely different. And so I think sometimes... it's magic in a bottle. And for me, that whole I Believe scene of the series is a whole magic in a bottle moment. Don't rewrite that. Don't touch it. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's I just love to just imagine what would be if they had more time, more stuff because everything would be different if it had more time. Because I think every creative person suffers with that, trying to be a perfectionist. And you have to just let it go and let it go out in whatever version you got to with the time you had.
In terms of, though, the kind of internet hatred towards it, the people are vile. They're writing such horrible stuff on the Duffer Brothers Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Saying you'll never work again and all this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They've literally created something that is completely, in my opinion, timeless. It's going to span for generations, just like something like Star Wars has. I don't think we will ever be as lucky to see a phenomenon like this ever again. I don't know anything like it that's come before, and I don't expect anything to come like it after.
What I find interesting is that the people who write those things, they're not creators. The only person I would accept that kind of bullying off is someone like Quentin Tarantino.
No, I disagree.
No, but
I wouldn't.
George Lucas, someone who's up there saying,
let me tell you something.
You did poo-poo, you're not going to work
Let me tell you something.
But having a load of nobodies on the internet saying you're never going to work again, they've never created anything.
No, let me tell you something. Quentin Tarantino has actually been horrible recently and he's come out against certain actors. Have you seen this?
No.
And he said, he's a terrible actor, blah, blah, blah. No, he's not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But we all have different opinions on these things. And just because someone has experience doesn't mean that they're more valid to speak on your art. I totally disagree with what you said there. Make what you want to make, because if it's come from somewhere that you genuinely believe in, then someone else will find it too.
Yeah.
So, no, I completely disagree.
End of the day, the more popular something is, the more noise it will make, good and bad. You know, you see it in everything. You see it in football clubs. If you've got a very big popular football club, it's also going to have a lot of people who hate that football club.
Yeah.
You just love to hate something that's winning right now. People love to just hate Disney purely because it's massive. It's multi-billion, you know what I mean? Like pound corporation.
Okay, so let's rank the series then.
Right.
My personal rankings, I love absolutely all of Stranger Things. So
Same.
genuinely, I love all of them.
Can I go with my first then? I'll go first because
Okay.
I got my numbers already. 1, 4, 2, 3, 5. That's me.
Mine is 4, 3, 1, 5, 2.
So both of us have placed 5. Actually, not that good. And this is the thing. So although the finale was amazing, Series 5 doesn't actually make top 3 for either of us. Not because it's bad, not because we're unhappy with the ending. We're both very positive people. But actually, I think where the heart of Stranger Things lied with the kids that we loved was actually where we loved it. Do you know what I mean? And those series end up climbing the highest.
I think that ranking is likely to change the more I watch them. 4 is where I peaked. I've watched series 4 like over and over again.
Oh yeah, 4 is definitely second highest for me. It's undeniably good.
3 is when I fell in love with Stranger Things. So of course I'm going to look at it more fondly because it's where I really, really fell in love with it. 1, because it's the first, is my third. When actually, if I go back now and watch 1, because I know what's coming and I know how big it gets, it's almost less enjoyable because I know how big it's going to get. I have all the answers. It's a lot smaller. 5, absolutely love how they've wrapped it up, and I love the inclusion of as many characters as possible. And then 2 is the last one, just because 2 is such a continuation of 1 that it feels a little bit less necessary, but I love it.
I liken it to, like, you imagine, like, if you went to watch Sabrina Carpenter in a small little, like a little club with 100 people, 200 people versus an arena tour. You're likening watching season 1 now, knowing to what it becomes, which would be like now going back in time to watch Sabrina Carpenter do a little show, knowing she's going to be selling arenas. So you're kind of watching it through this lens of, I know how good this becomes, and you're almost then can't able to fully just be in the moment and enjoy it. Whereas you remembered if you were like first watching season 1, and you were literally for the first time watching Sabrina Carpenter play in front of 400 people, and trying to recapture that, it must be so hard.
That's why I'm excited for the day that I'll never forget what happens in Stranger Things, but the day where I haven't watched it so recently, so I can rewatch it again fully. And have that same similar experience. Yeah,
and that might be in 10 or 20 years, and you show it to a kid or something like that, and you're like, watch this.
I cannot wait to show this to a future child.
Yeah, to indoctrinate them.
And I think that's important. One thing I absolutely hate, though, is ranking. I hate ranking, like, series and all that, because I love Stranger Things, and it's such an internet thing to do. And don't get me wrong, I am doing it, but it's like, I just love all of it. I'm allowed to just love something. And I kind of hate that these days we're obsessed with comparing. We're obsessed. We love comparing things.
And we do like to compare them, but I like comparing because me and my friends would do it, like, for example, maps. We love playing Counter-Strike, for example, a map, and we always just rank maps. Oh, this is the best maps. Oh, I hate those maps. You know, they're the worst maps.
See, I kind of also hate it because it's like you can just like the whole thing. You can just like the game. Just really quickly, do you care about the spin-offs? So we've got the animated thing. Stage show.
No, I didn't care about any with any other thing either. I didn't like The Hobbit, which came after Lord of the Rings. I don't like anything. I didn't like the Harry Potter.
Tell us how you really feel.
I don't care
you
for anything.
Seen Cursed
I don't want to and don't need to. I just don't need to. I don't need to go see the stage show for Stranger Things. I don't need to go see the animated series. I didn't watch Clone Wars of Star Wars. Just give me
let me tell you something.
The core offering.
If they bring out a new Stranger Things series and they say, oh, it's going to be all 90s themed and we're going to have new characters, you're going to watch it.
That'll be...
So a spin-off.
But that's like a cinematic offering.
So a spin-off.
I don't want... No. I mean, I don't want... No. I don't want some extra... I don't want theatre when I've enjoyed the TV series, right?
Right, that is fair.
I don't want a musical or animation when I've enjoed a cinematic TV experience.
Animation feels like such a cop-out. It's like what they did with Star Wars and then they made Clone Wars. It's such a cop-out. Just make Star Wars.
And the same goes the other way. I love Naruto, the anime. I do not want stage show Naruto. I don't want live action Naruto. I don't want musical Naruto. I want the same with K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't want live action I want the core offering that I enjoyed in the way that I enjoyed it.
One last question. Will anything ever compare to Stranger Things?
We probably won't.
No.
Because... like, the 80s is gone now. How many more times... They can't now create something else that throws back to the 80s without stepping on this thing's toes. So we're probably not even going to see anything else made, really, in this same circle. because it's just going to be stepping on its toes. So this may be the kind of last big hurrah to the 80s, really.
No, there'll be more 80s stuff.
I'm sure there'll be stuff set in the 80s, but 80s kids show.
Thing is, there's nothing like it.
There is nothing like it, and you can't make anything else like it. And I'll tell you why,
because it's the sum of its parts. It is a bit E.T., it is a bit Goonies, it is a bit Stand By Me. So now, yes, someone may try and make something that includes Stranger Things as part of the part, but I don't think we'll ever have anything as successful.
And don't get me wrong, I think Skeleton Crew Star Wars
really good.
Is an ode to that time period, or is an ode to that style of 4 kids coming of age and going on a journey. And I love that, and I think Skeleton Crew's done really well. But obviously, because that's set in its own universe, its own IP, right? So it's in the Star Wars universe.
Not the same.
They are able to do it without stepping on Stranger Things' toes, really.
It's time for
Controversial Corner.
There is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. I don't feel guilty about liking any of the TV or movies or music that I enjoy.
No such thing as a guilty pleasure.
But do you honestly feel guilty about, liking... you love diva music. Are you feeling guilty about that, or are you just owning it?
Yeah, I'm quite proud of it, really.
And so I find it like a weird concept, because I'm like, if you like a piece of media, why would you feel ashamed?
I think a guilty pleasure is only inferred to if you feel...
lame.
If you feel lame doing it.
Yeah.
For example, me and my little brother were talking about the other day, we love a really stupid game called Pass the Pigs, because we played it when we were growing up. It's literally...
You pass a pig.
Well, you have 2 plastic pigs, you throw them like you would 2 dice, and the way in which they land is how many points you get.
Right.
Anyone else we've spoken to says that's the most boring, stupid game ever.
But that's sometimes why things
But
are
I
good.
guess we would only deem that a guilty pleasure if we felt ashamed in any way and be like, well, I'm guilty that I still like it. I don't. I just feel quite proud that I like such a basic, rudimentary, stupid game.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? We talk all the time about you have people in life in general who you'll say something to and they either diminish you or they pull you up, right?
Yeah.
So we liken it to if you say to someone, oh, do you remember that time when? And they go, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, oh, what? Tell me what happened. There's a completely different spark there.
I actively refuse to surround myself with people who diminish. So for example, if you're just around people and you just say, I'm really into Star Wars, I'm really into PC gaming or something, and if someone just goes, ugh, that's lame.
Right.
Someone else is obviously interested in it. Why poo-poo it?
If someone's telling me about something they love, I don't actively say, you're so silly for liking that. How could you like that? Yeah. I can say, oh, I've never really been into that. And that's fine. But the conversation then continues. And I'm like, oh, maybe I need to try it again. It's never actually diminishing.
No, and I stay away from people that diminish things. I think it's just those people bring you no happiness in your life.
Yeah.
Literally no happiness whatsoever.
I'm all for guilty pleasures and what you enjoy, watching and whatever. Don't be guilty, just be pleasured.
Would just be impassioned, and just be impassioned to enjoy things.
I love passionate people though. Sitting and being able to talk to someone about something that they love, whether it's music or a movie or whatever. I love hearing other people get excited about what they love.
Unless it's about space. You hate space.
I hate space.
Which is annoying because I'm really pumped about the Artemis 2 rocket that's waiting to launch in March. But
Didn't they just say that that's not happening?
No, it's been delayed. They did a wet test, which was like a dry rehearsal. They filled it up.
I don't want to know.
They filled it up.
I don't want to know.
Found it didn't really go to plan, and now they're delayed. So.
And this is like what I was saying in a previous episode. Why are we wasting money going wide berth around the moon, drive by, when we could be curing cancer?
No, because we can do some amazing stuff in space.
What? Like what?
Well, imagine all the stuff.
A really good forward roll.
No. Imagining all the stuff that we can stick out there that stops polluting this planet. Stuff that we can do out there.
Like what?
Well, for example, it was refining things. You can send up refineries to factories to almost make things out in lower orbit. So all the pollution goes off into space.
Wow.
Into the vacuum of space, rather than clouds of rubbish going around the atmosphere where we all breathe.
Well, that is just incredible. So we're gonna go, and we've chosen space to just pollute instead.
100%. Well, there's more room in space to pollute than there is on Earth.
Let's spread our pollution around.
We should do
into the atmosphere.
We should do a bit like Star Wars, where we should just get all of our rubbish, like fly tipping and all that stuff like that.
Fly tipping.
All the stuff we get on our. Yeah, we absolutely. There's so much room in space. Just just eject it out into space.
What is going on?
It's littering.
Is that genuinely what we're gonna do? We're gonna litter the whole universe instead.
The universe is very big.
But also, is that the big master plan here?
That would be like...
Wait, we want to go into space to litter.
Yeah, but...
That's terrible.
Right, it's like dropping a Smartie into the ocean.
I don't care.
It's like, and then saying, I've littered. I've like.
Yeah, but if everyone on Earth put a Smartie in the ocean, all of a sudden the ocean is Smarties.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, but it's so much bigger than that.
It's just crazy. No, I'm sorry. That is one of the worst things I've ever heard the human race
We're in a
wanted to
galaxy
do.
of billions of stars, and there are trillions of galaxies.
Let's pollute it then. You know what? In a minute, you won't be able to see the stars because there'll be landfill in the sky.
I'm down for it.
What? Okay, that's another episode done. We are back here every Friday with another episode of Elz Tells. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.